Seraphina Aethelgard. The sand tasted of regret. Not my regret, not yet, but the accumulated sorrow of centuries. I, Seraphina Aethelgard, traced the lines of the sky tattoos blooming across my shoulders. Constellations mapped onto skin, a legacy of my people. I was charting a forgotten wadi, a dry riverbed that hadn't seen water in living memory, when my boot struck something unyielding beneath the dune. Brushing away the ochre dust revealed a stone, intricately carved with symbols I vaguely recognized from the fragmented histories whispered by the desert nomads. A seal, perfectly preserved, depicting a coiled serpent devouring its own tail. A symbol of cyclical destruction. And, if the legends held true, a key. The seal was more than just a relic. It resonated with a strange energy. Back at my makeshift camp, a battered solar rig and a canvas tent offering scant protection from the brutal sun, I spent hours documenting the symbols, cross-referencing them with the few surviving texts salvaged from the ruined city of Aket. The carvings weren't merely decorative, they were a map, a complex series of astronomical alignments linked to subterranean water sources. My people, the last guardians of this knowledge, had predicted the desert's relentless advance, and this seal held the potential to reverse it, or so the text hinted. The scale of the undertaking, though, it felt both impossibly grand and terrifyingly fragile. The first obstacle wasn't a natural one, but a political one. News of my discovery, and the potential water it promised, reached the ears of Governor Valerius, a man whose ambition outweighed his compassion. He dispatched a detachment of his private guard, led by Captain Marius, to secure the artifact and assist my research. Marius made it clear he wasn't interested in assistance, only control. He demanded I hand over the seal, offering empty promises of resources and recognition. I refused. This wasn't about glory, it was about survival. Now, I was being watched, my movements restricted, my supplies dwindling. The desert, it seemed, wasn't the only enemy. Desperate, I sought out Old Man Tariq, a Bedouin elder known for his encyclopedic knowledge of the desert's secrets. He lived on the fringes of society, a solitary figure haunted by the ghosts of a dying culture. He recognized the serpent seal instantly. The Tears of Isha, he called it, a relic of a time when water flowed freely, a time before the Great Thirst. He warned me of the sand wraiths, guardians of the subterranean springs, beings of immense power who would not hesitate to defend their domain. He also spoke of a hidden oasis, Al-Jannah, a place of untold beauty and immense danger, said to be the key to unlocking the seal's true potential. Following Tariq's cryptic directions, I ventured deeper into the desolate heart of the desert, guided by the stars and the faint echoes of ancient lore. The closer I got to Al-Jannah, the more unsettling the landscape became. Twisted rock formations resembled petrified screams, and the air vibrated with a palpable sense of dread. I discovered the remnants of previous expeditions, bleached bones, rusted equipment, and journals filled with frantic scribbles about hallucinations and unseen horrors. They hadn't found water, they'd found something far more sinister. The oasis wasn't a sanctuary, it was a tomb. I spent 3 days painstakingly deciphering a series of glyphs etched into the walls of a crumbling temple within the oasis. They detailed a complex ritual, a song of awakening, that supposedly would unlock the subterranean springs. But the ritual required a rare desert bloom, the nocturne lily, said to blossom only under the light of a specific celestial alignment. I followed the map, scouring the dunes for miles, convinced I was on the verge of a breakthrough, only to discover the map was centuries out of date. The lily's habitat had shifted, buried beneath a massive sandstorm years ago. It was a cruel deception, a wasted journey that had cost me precious time and dwindling supplies. Captain Marius, relentless in his pursuit, finally cornered me in a narrow canyon. He demanded the seal again, his voice laced with menace. I refused, activating a series of concealed traps I'd rigged throughout the canyon. It was a desperate gambit, but it bought me time. A brief skirmish ensued. I wasn't a warrior, but I knew the terrain, using the rocks and shadows to my advantage. I managed to disable several of his guards, but Marius, a seasoned soldier, was a formidable opponent. The fight ended with me disarmed and outnumbered, forced to flee into the labyrinthine canyons, leaving behind valuable equipment. Hiding amongst the ruins of a forgotten observatory, I stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Inside, I found the journal of Ilara, a cartographer who had studied the region centuries ago. Her final entry revealed a shocking truth. The Song of Awakening wasn't meant to create water, but to redirect it. The springs weren't buried. They were flowing beneath a heavily fortified outpost controlled by Governor Valerius himself. He wasn't trying to protect the water, he was hoarding it, controlling the region's dwindling resources for his own gain. The revelation was a turning point. I could continue my quest for a peaceful solution, but Valerius wouldn't hesitate to exploit the water for his own purposes, condemning countless people to starvation. I decided to expose him, risking everything to reveal his treachery. I sent a coded message to a sympathetic journalist in the capital, detailing Valerius's scheme and providing evidence gleaned from Ilara's journal. It was a gamble, but it was the only way to save my people. Valerius, anticipating my move, launched a full-scale assault on my location. Determined to silence me and suppress the truth, I found myself facing his entire army, outnumbered and outgunned. But I wasn't alone. Tariq and a band of Bedouin warriors, enraged by Valerius's greed, joined the fight, using their knowledge of the terrain to ambush the governor's forces. The battle was fierce and brutal, a desperate struggle for survival under the scorching sun. I used my knowledge of the observatory's ancient mechanisms to disrupt Valerius's communications and create diversions. The journalist received my message and published a scathing exposé, triggering a public outcry and prompting an investigation by the capital's authorities. Valerius's scheme was exposed, his reputation shattered, and his forces routed. He was arrested and stripped of his power. The water beneath his outpost was released, flowing freely to the parched communities that had suffered under his tyranny. The immediate conflict was resolved, and a fragile peace returned to the region. But the desert remains, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of nature. The tears of Isha had revealed a temporary solution, but the underlying causes of desertification remained. The water would eventually dwindle again, and new challenges would arise. The tattoos on my skin, a map of the stars, seemed to pulse with a quiet warning. The fight for survival was far from over. It was merely a pause, a moment to gather strength before the next inevitable struggle.